Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to this week's podcast. I have to absolutely thank everybody that I met over at Retro World Expo last weekend. I had such an amazing time, both with the attendees, the fellow presenters, and just overall, it was such an amazing and positive experience, and I loved hanging out and talking with everybody. Of course, it can't be a weekend with me without at least a few bonehead screw-ups. The first and probably most embarrassing is that I hung out with Frank Strasser for like 20 minutes before I realized who he was. I guess he looks a little bit different than his picture or something, but I was sitting there talking to him, and when I realized who he was, both my friend Lou and I were like, "Oh, it's you. We were just talking about you." So, sorry, Frank. My bad. And of course, I was part of two panels, both of which went really well. Big shout out and thanks to Lon from Lon.tv. I got to be a part of his FPGA panel. And then I did the same one that I've been doing on getting the best out of your consoles for the right price, or at any price. And the crowd was amazing. The presentation went okay, but I seem to keep forgetting that I'm getting old and fatter. So I ran up on stage, got everything set up, and then I was out of breath and just coughed through the first 10 minutes like a total moron rookie. So everybody was amazingly patient with me. So I'm very sorry about that. My panels usually go at least a little smoother than that, but hopefully I still got the point across and people had a good time, because I certainly did. Wonderful crowd. Everybody that showed up asked such great questions, and it was just a pleasure to meet all of you. So hopefully we could repeat this again at PRGE in a few weeks. But honestly, genuinely, I really mean this. Everybody around and about Retro World, from the people that run it to the people that attend to the people that show up and do panels, everybody there that I met was really awesome. So thank you so much. And now let's jump into the news. First up, Christoph just released a new firmware for the DCHDMI that has some updates and bug fixes, but the number one feature that was added that I think a lot of my friends who are fans of Marvel vs. Capcom 2 might like is now you could enter and navigate the on-screen display with arcade sticks. So to some of us, it might be a small update. To others, that might be a giant update. So thanks so much to Christoph for continuing work on this, and of course to both he and Dan for making this project happen. This next thing isn't a product that's going to be up for sale. It's just a project that I thought was so neat that I really wanted to share with everybody. But Kevin Horton, aka Kevtris, just posted a video on how he took a 10-inch LED array and wired it up to an FPGA Game Boy in order to play it. And it's pretty neat. I kind of also wish that he had lag tested as well, just for the heck of it to see. But he'd done something like this a while back, and he was able to use an array that had LEDs that were spaced pretty far apart. So you'd need to be standing pretty far back in order for it to look like a clear image. And this one's using a much denser LED array. And stuff like this I've always been curious about. Even things like big LED walls and, just cool little projects like this. So if anybody wants to nerd out and just check out a neat little project that might involve a little bit of engineering and tweaking, please check this one out, because I thought, when I first saw it, I figured, all right, let me watch a couple of minutes, and I ended up just watching the whole thing, and I really enjoyed it. So figured anybody that's interested, please give it a watch. Last July, I went out to San Diego to visit Smoke Monster and Mike Chi, and while I was there, I filmed an interview right in Mike's office, but I didn't want it to air until after the Rad 2X was released, because I wanted to talk openly about that. I originally wasn't sure if I wanted to air the first half of the interview then, and then the other half now, but I really had a good time, and I thought it flowed well together as is, so I just kind of held off until now. There were a few funny things where, if you listened, at the time, he didn't come up with the name RGB to comp for the transcoder, so there's a few little things like that that are very outdated from July till now, but all the important stuff is still accurate. So, a giant thanks to Mike for graciously inviting me into his office and bothering him during a work day. But I really do. I love doing these interviews. I really want to do more in-person interviews, and I especially like doing it with people that have become friends. So thanks very much to Mike, and I highly recommend listening. And for any newcomers, any interview that I do is both audio and video. So if you're just walking or driving in your car and you don't want to have to deal with a YouTube video, it's everywhere podcasts can be found. iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, or even direct MP3 if you don't want to sign up for those. I compress them to mono 128K MP3s, so you're not going to have to waste your over-the-air download fees on a huge thing. So thanks again to Mike, and I hope everybody enjoys it. Displaced Gamers just posted a great video that details the possible new diagnosis for the PlayStation 3's yellow light of death. And their video does a great job detailing exactly what the possible cause and solution is. I'm going to give a short version now, so if you're at all interested, please check out their video. But basically, for years now, people thought that when you got the yellow light of death on a PS3, that was because of the solder that connects the main chips to the motherboard. And that supposedly is the issue in the Xbox 360, so people assumed that that must be the same problem here. So a lot of people's fixes was to hit it with a heat gun to heat up that solder between the two chips and fix that connection. And then the better fix would be to replace those two chips altogether, remove the solder, put new on, and put them back. And that's a technique nicknamed reballing. And it's pretty complicated and hard to do. And a post on PSX Place back in July seems to have found capacitors, very special capacitors called token capacitors, that are power filtering caps for the two main chips. And they tend to fail. And one funny thing about them is if you hit it with a heat gun, it'll temporarily bring it back to life, which might explain why so many people who did the heat gun trick had their PS3s work if the problem wasn't the GPU and CPU itself. Now, I really do love how Displaced Gamers made sure to word their video correctly so that they didn't say that this was the new diagnosis. They really explained in detail how there's probably multiple causes of the problem, and this is just another one. But this is something I'm definitely interested in, and I'd like to talk to a few people about maybe using my PS3s as a test bed if they wanted, because I had a couple of PS3s that I sent to a reballing shop a few times, and once they even replaced the GPU on it, when I got it back, there were signs of heat gun abuse, but I honestly have no proof if it was them or if it was just the person I got the console from. But all of that would certainly explain the issue. If everything truly was reballed with leaded solder, and they came back and still failed, that would explain why. Because the heated capacitors kind of were brought back to life for a little bit, and then they died shortly after. So luckily there is a fix. You could replace those with tantalum caps, which should last quite a bit longer. It is, of course, all of this stuff is very risky, and tantalum caps could start smoking if you put them in backwards, so you got to be very careful with that. And also, I am very specifically talking about one type of capacitor. So this whole adding a little heat could temporarily bring it back to life. Don't be doing that on like your Game Gear or anything like that. That's a totally different type of capacitor. But overall, it's a great video. And every time I watch a Displaced Gamers video, I get genuinely angry at how few followers they have. The YouTube algorithm drives me insane, and videos like this should be all over the place, not just passed by word of mouth. So please do me a favor, subscribe to their channel, retweet, post, whatever it is that you do. But every time I watch one of their videos, I'm entertained and educated at the same time. So hopefully we can help a smaller channel grow that really deserves it. So thanks very much to them. Thanks to the people on the PSX Place that found the whole capacitor issue. And maybe we could start swapping out some of those on problematic units to really have a larger test group to see if this is the fix. So anyway, I'll keep everybody posted if I end up trying it to mine. A few weeks from now, speedrunner Carcinogen SDA will be out in Japan playing Resident Evil 2 with the original director. And while this isn't normally a post that I would talk about or post on RetroRGB, this is kind of a crossover post, if you will, because I am a huge fan of speedrunning. I have no skills to do it myself, but I very much enjoy watching other people's speedruns, and especially some of those like mini documentaries on it that Summoning Salt usually posts. But this one's kind of interesting because first and foremost, you have the director of a game directly recognizing the speedrunning community. And now you have a speedrunner who's really always on the bleeding edge of all of the latest hardware and always has to fight certain problems with the 6th gen consoles, such as 240p 480i switching in games. So this is kind of a mixture via Carc's hardware setup of the retro gaming hardware scene. This is the retro gaming software scene, as obviously the director of Resident Evil 2 is a pretty huge player in all of that, as well as, lots of respect being thrown to the speedrunner scene. So I don't believe Carsey is going to be speedrunning it there. I think he's just going to be playing it through, but knowing Carsey, he's still probably going to be playing it better than most people on the planet would. And I just wanted to share this with everybody, because even if you only have a slight interest in one of those three things, this might turn out to be a really entertaining stream for everybody. I'll be out at Portland for the Portland Retro Gaming Expo when this is live, so hopefully I could convince my friends out there to watch it with me. I don't think I'll have a hard time convincing them. And if you're even the slightest bit interested in this, please flip on Carsey's Twitch channel and give this one a watch, because I'm really looking forward to see how this goes. So I finally got a chance to release the video on what scalars you should avoid, focusing in on that generic SCART to HDMI box, which was designed for like VCRs, not ever for games. And I think I got the video right. I had to scrap a few different versions of it a few months ago, and even this version I rewrote the script a bunch of times and re-recorded it because I really want it to be educational, but I also wanted to show my frustration with this as well. And some people take it the right way, some people take it the wrong way, but it does really drive me nuts how so many people have wasted their money because of misinformation, and how people keep spreading the, oh, it's fine, oh, it doesn't bother me, oh, it's, you're just exaggerating. I hope I proved in this video that all of that is not true. But there are a few points that I would like to make or reiterate. So please watch the video for the educational side. But first and foremost, I didn't in the video, and I don't think I have ever shamed anybody for using this stuff. I don't like to make people feel bad for an honest mistake. And, a lot of people bought this because they just couldn't afford something else at the time. And even people who are in the loop of things and said, well, I know a CRT that you can get for free would be better, but I just don't have access to one. So I don't ever want to shame the people that use these. It's just the people that say you should use these that I'm angry at. And another point is the people that sell them. And I've said this before, but I'm not sorry for repeating myself on this one. I've also never shamed any store that sold these, because the unfortunate fact is, and I am totally guilty of this, if I walked into a store and said, hey, I just need the cheapest thing, and somebody said, well, the cheapest thing stinks, what we have here is this solution or that, and listen to this 5-minute rant, I'm just going to walk out. And I know that's wrong. I would like to always be patient and listen, but sometimes I just need the cheapest thing. And sometimes I know why it stinks. Whatever it is that I'm buying, just give me that one and let me leave. And for stores, whether it's brick and mortar or online stores, to offer every choice, it's going to be better for everybody, because now those people, like the occasionally angry me that just say, just give me the cheapest one. Now you could say something like, sure, I just want to let you know there's much better choices, but they are more expensive. So if this doesn't do what you'd like, come back, trade it in just like you would a game, or sell it on eBay or whatever else. So, having choices to offer your customers is always a good thing. Trying to properly educate them is good as well. So, I certainly, by no means would I ever talk down to people that use them or people that sell them. It's really just the people who manufacture them, like Pound, who I go hard on all the time, and they absolutely deserve it, because Pound took a chip that they knew very specifically was only meant to be used with TV signals, and they're lying to everybody, telling everybody it's perfectly fine for video games, when hopefully I've proven in this video that it's not. I obviously wouldn't be mad at the people who made the SCART to HDMI box, because it was never meant for video games. It's really just the spread of misinformation that I'm angry at because of the result of what happens. I've gotten so many emails of just really sad emails from people that learned after it was too late that they bought the wrong thing, and they were in a spot in their life where they didn't have the extra cash, and they basically are just out of luck. And that makes me feel really bad, because I would like to hope that everybody listening is in a good place and doesn't have to worry, but I think most of us have probably hit a bump in the road before, and I sure as heck did a few years ago when all that stuff went down. So I really know what it's like, both from that and growing up. Like, sometimes that $40 makes a huge difference. So hopefully this was taken the right way. Hopefully this was interpreted as an educational video with some well-deserved jabs in there as well, but I guess time will tell. But I did say in the video and on Twitter, and I've continued to say, I would like to politely change how people talk about these things. If you want to use something like this and you think it's good for you, that's fine, but don't tell other people that, oh, that's all crap, lag is fine, because it's not. We really need to make a shift in the gaming industry with all the really great choices that we have these days, and tell these companies that we're not going to buy your piece of crap pound cable. We're not going to buy the rebranded version with a nicer box and that you're making me think is something different, but it's the exact same thing. And one very last and hopefully quick point to make. This video was focused on those scalers for 8, 16, and 32-bit consoles. So for PS2, Xbox, and Dreamcast, there are a few cables out there that just convert analog to digital. And they're not great, but they don't add lag, and they don't process progressive as interlaced. So I'm going to follow up hopefully soon, because it should be a pretty quick video, but I'm going to follow up with those as well just to let people know. You shouldn't just go for one of these crappy $30 solutions for the 16-bit or earlier era, but for some of the newer consoles, a cheap cable like this could absolutely hold you off for something better until you get something better, or you might just be happy with it. Because once again, just to reiterate the point, it's not about having a perfect signal. It's about being able to use these consoles without ruining the experience. And just having a mediocre analog to digital conversion, it's perfectly acceptable because you don't have any lag added to it. So I'll dig deep into those as well. I know a few people in the comments nicely and genuinely were asking about that. So hopefully I can clarify that with a follow-up video with the newer consoles like that. So, but yes, absolutely in the context of 8, 16, and 32-bit gaming, don't use any of the plug-and-plays except the Rad2X, and stick with solutions that are designed to be used with games like the RetroTink 2X and the OSSC, and of course the FrameMeister if you already own one. If you don't already own it, it's probably cheaper just to get a RetroTink, an OSSC, and a converter so you could use all of them together. But if you already own one, it's still a great device, and it's still one of the best for streamers too. So hopefully this goes well, and I don't know, I think I'm rambling, so I'm just going to stop. Well, this was a really short one this week, both because there wasn't too many new things to talk about, and because I was obviously pretty swamped making all these videos and putting all this stuff together and being out at the expo and everything. So once again, while this isn't as full of a weekly podcast as I'd normally like, there's nothing missing that's time sensitive. So there's a few other things I would have enjoyed talking about if I had time, but no one's missing any pre-order dates or anything like that, at least anything that I would be in the loop of anyway. So while I apologize for there not being too much more to talk about this week, you're safe with new products and stuff like that. So as always, thank you so much to everybody that watches and listens. Once again, thanks to everybody that I met at Retro World. It was just so much fun. And I'm really looking forward to Portland. That's 2.5-ish weeks away. And I hope to finally get to meet so many of you out there in person that I've never met before. So fingers crossed that everything gets out there smoothly and I'll be able to enjoy it just as much as I did Retro World. But anyway, thanks again, and I'll see everybody next week.